Hello everyone, I am Sword Caliburn 687, and today I would talk about Sonic X Shadow Generations. If you guys really want to support this video, smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's begin the video. Sonic X Shadow Generations is a fantastic game, and it is really fun. Generations is a perfect Sonic game, but I would want more from Generations. Many other Sonic fans, and including myself, would want more DLC from Generations. A lot of Sonic fans want more levels, more playable characters, and a new story mode. Even though I would want more DLC, do I think that more DLC is possible in Generations? I think yes. Sega released free updates for Sonic Frontiers, and it improves the game in a major way. The reason why Sega did more updates in Frontiers, it's because more fans wanted more DLC for Frontiers. If many Sonic fans want more updates for Generations, I think that Sega would listen to the fan base and add more DLC. If Sega does a DLC roadmap like a Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, that would be a smart idea. A DLC roadmap to Generations would test Sega and Sonic Team if more people would want more DLC for Generations. These are my ideas for adding more DLC to Generations. The Sonic characters that I think would be playable in Generations, it might be Tails, Silver, and Knuckles. These Sonic characters are really popular with a lot of Sonic fans, and many Sonic fans want them to be playable in Generations. What classifies as a Generations game? A Generations game shows a brief history of that Sonic character while recreating original levels from the era of that Sonic game. Generations is a sequel to these original games while doing something new with the plot of the game. Now I would talk about the different dimensions in the Sonic universe that has the potential to recreate levels in Generations. Sonic Mania does fit in with the idea of Sonic Generations. Mania does remake levels from Sonic's past history, which is really amazing. Sonic Mania's controls and classic Sonic physics are better than Generations, and even though Generations controls are not exactly like classic Sonic's physics, it is really good. The spin dash is the most overpowered thing in Generations, and it is really fun to use. When some of the older levels from the previous Sonic games returns in Sonic Mania, they're recreations of the original levels, and they're not exactly like the original levels. Like Generations, Generations would change the level designs of these returning levels, and makes it feel unique and fresh. The prime example of this is Chemical Plant Act 2, and Chemical Plant Act 2 is a really good level. Sonic Mania for me is the game that shows the right way to bring back old classic levels and completely remixing them from the ground up. You would think that Sega would learn learned the idea of remixing levels in the next Sonic game after Mania, but that wasn't the case with Sonic Forces and Sonic Frontiers. With Sonic Forces, there's not that many returning levels that Sega brought back in the game, but there's only 3 levels. With the older levels brought back in Sonic Forces, they're downgrades of the original levels, which is a disappointment. If you try to compare Green Hill Zone and Chemical Plants to the Generations counterparts, these stages are a letdown. The levels are shorter and there's way too much automations for these remixed levels. Sonic Frontiers, on the other hand, tries to copy previous levels from previous Sonic games like Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Adventure 2, and Sonic Generations. Sega didn't want to recreate any levels from Sonic Forces into Sonic Frontiers, and it makes a lot of sense. Forces wasn't received that well, and any recreation of Forces level design in Sonic Frontiers, a lot of Sonic fans would have probably felt disappointed if Cyberspace had any recreations of Forces level design in the game. Now you guys can kinda understand about bringing back a previous level within Generations. A Generations level is a recreation of that level, and it has the heart and essence of the original level. What do I mean by this? A Generations level can kind of serve as a remake of these returning stages, but it also feels like a continuation of these older stages. For my personal opinion, I think that Cyberspace and Null Space should return in Generations, but with improved level design. When a Sonic team should bring back Null Space or even Cyberspace, Sonic team should not reuse Green Hill, Chemical Plants, or even Sky Century's assets. If Sega doesn't reuse these free stages assets that I mentioned right now, I can see people liking Cyberspace and Null Space. Before I talk about on what dimension would recreate levels in Generations, I would want to say this. This video would talk about what DLC idea that I would want in Generations, and this video won't be focusing on stages. I would talk about a few stages, but this isn't a stage selection video. I have made other Sonic stage selections videos in the past. If you want to click on that to focus more on stages, click on the link in the description below. The first Sonic dimension that I would talk about, it would be White Space. I think that White Space should be explored one more time, but with Silver. Silver can explore the erased timeline of Sonic 06, and it would be cool within Silver Generations. Silver had a gray Chaos Emerald right before he fought Sonic in Generations, and there's a lot of cool stories that Sega can do with Silver. Silver used the gray Chaos Emerald to seal away Iblis inside Blaze, and Silver also used the gray Chaos Emerald to help resurrect Sonic. Silver could have levels like Flame Core, Aquatic Base, Sweet Mountain, and Luminous Forest. I can also see Capital City working with Silver, and it would be a really cool futuristic level for his character. Sega should remix all the custom characters' music for Silver. The final boss for Silver Generations, it could be Iblis, Mephiles, or even Dolores. I hope that Silver Gens would explore more white space, and it would be really awesome. Next, let's talk about cyberspace. Cyberspace is a dimension created by the ancients, and it is a really fascinating dimension. Cyberspace could recreate levels and past events in a person's memory. Knuckles or Tails could explore cyberspace, and there is a lot of interesting things you can do with both of their characters. There is a lot of mysteries with the 6 Starfall Island, and people predict it might be Angel Island. It would be cool if Knuckles fights a Titan on Angel Island, and if there is a Titan, it would be really awesome. Maybe the Titan could be a dragon, all because in Sonic 3 and Knuckles instruction manuals and some of the concept art, there was going to be a dragon in the game. Some Sonic fans speculate on the dragon being the final boss for Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and it got scrapped in the game. There was a legend about a dragon egg destroying Angel Island, and later Sonic Team has used the dragon egg idea for Sonic Superstars. If Knuckles fights a Dragon Titan, that would really be amazing. In the Sonic official timeline by Sega and Sonic Team, the timeline does say that the ancients go on Angel Island and builds the temples on Angel Island. This makes me wonder if the ancients build the teleporters on Sky Century, and it is a big mystery. There are cyberspace portals on Angel Island, and cyberspace could recreate levels in Knuckles' memories. Cyberspace could recreate levels in Knuckles' memories. Maybe we could see levels like Mushroom Hill Zone, Pumpkin Hill, or even Ares Island. I can see Mortar Canyon working for Knuckles, all because he led the Resistance group, and it makes sense. A cool final boss for Knuckles Generations, it could be Pachacamac, and it would be really awesome. Maybe Knuckles can fight Pachacamac in the Lost World stage, and I hope that it would be a really incredible boss fight. I hope that Knuckles Generations would explore more of Angel Island and with the mysteries of the ancients. Tails' generation story could be this. Tails would go on his own adventures without Sonic, and it would be a good idea. Tails could explore cyberspace with Professor Victoria, and it would be cool to see her again. Maybe cyberspace would give Tails new abilities for him to use, and that would be really awesome. Sega can easily come up with new cyber abilities for Tails to use, like his mech gameplay and his vehicle transformations, and that would be really cool. Tails should use laser guns for his gameplay and different gadgets. Tails' projectile gameplay should be inspired off of Ratchet and Clank and the Sonic movies. Tails should have levels like Egg Carrier, Sunset Park Zone, Gigalopolis Zone, Frozen Base Zone, and Grand Metropolis. Sunset Park Zone would be a really amazing level for Tails, and I hope that it's in the game. In Japan, Sonic Chaos and Sonic Triple Trouble have different names in Japan. In Japan, Sonic Chaos is called Sonic and Tails, and Sonic Triple Trouble is called Sonic and Tails 2. Since Sonic Chaos and Sonic Triple Trouble counts as a Tails game, both of these games should be represented in Generations. The last Sonic dimension that I would talk about, it would be Null Space. Null Space could recreate levels in Sonic and Shadow's mind, and it would be a really cool idea. My Null Space idea could have a lot of story possibilities in Generations. I came up with this idea from Nux's Null Space mod, and Nux's Null Space mod is a really awesome mod. This mod is a really cool mod, and it was Shadow Generations before Shadow Generations existed. Nux's Null Space mod came out in 2018, and I like how he used the idea of Null Space. Nux took the idea of virtual reality from Sonic Forces and turns it into a level. Levels that can work for Null Space, it could be Night Palace, Camelot Castle, Prison Islands, Gun Fortress, Egg Gate, and Egg Fleet. Sonic Team should greatly improve on Egg Gate's level design, all because it is the best returning stage in Sonic Forces, and it has a potential to be a good level. The beginning section of Egg Gate starts off strong with multiple pathways, but how the stage ends, it's kinda terrible. Egg Gate has an annoying quick time event that lasts 30 seconds, and it is really annoying. Sonic Team does need to combine the best elements of Prison Hall and Death Egg into Egg Gate. If Sonic Team can improve on Egg Gate's level design, like having multiple pathways and making the stage longer, I can see people liking Egg Gate. The one thing that was disappointing in Force's story, once Sonic and the custom character defeated Infinite, he randomly disappears in the story. I was expecting after beating Forces, you would get the final story of the game, but that never happened. Sega and Sonic teams told you on what happened to Infinite in the Sonic Cyclopedia. In the Cyclopedia, Infinite disappeared in the original Phantom Ruby. It's really lame that you have to read the Sonic Cyclopedia on what happened to Infinite. A cool idea that I came up with, why not do a DLC that focuses on Infinite, Shadow, and Sonic? Sonic Forces Overclocked is a fan-based game that takes place after Forces, which is really cool. The Duck Dealer and his team are doing episode Shadow of Forces Overclocked, and I hope that it's really good. Sonic Team did say in an interview with Morio Kishimoto that even though Sega and Sonic Team acknowledge fan games, they see it as competition to their games. What Sonic fan games are popular with a lot of Sonic fans? That is Sonic Forces Overclocked and Project 06. Sonic Team and Sega probably know that these fan games are really popular with a lot of Sonic fans, so them talking about remaking 06, it makes sense. I am fine with Sega seeing some fan games as competitions to their games. It is because it would make Sega work harder with making their games and their remakes. The plot of the Infinite DLC would be this. Infinite would want to get revenge on Sonic, Shadow, and Eggman, and would do anything to get revenge. Infinite would find a way to escape the Phantom Ruby and become more powerful. Infinite would trap the whole world in null space, so Sonic and friends would have no choice but to work together. It would be cool if you played all the members of the Resistance, like Amy or the Chaotix, and I hope that it would happen. Sonic and Shadow would be affected by the powers of null space. Sonic would get his cyber powers back, and Shadow his Doom abilities. Sonic would get the Psy-Loop and the Spin Dash, and I would want modern Sonic Spin Dash not to be overpowered like from Sonic Frontiers. Sega should create lore and a better backstory for Infinite and the Phantom Ruby. With creating lore for Sonic Forces, Sega should create a journal for Forces. We don't know about Infinite's backstory as a character, or why he created the Jackal Squad. There is a lot of things we don't know about Infinite. We don't know if Infinite had family or how he became a mercenary. Maybe this lore-based journal can tie other things from Sonic Forces, like the Forces comic book, when Knuckles and Silver created the Resistance, and gathers the remaining members of the Resistance. I hope that Sega would create a lore book for Forces in Generations. The idea of the Phantom Ruby does sound really cool. A magical gem that can rival the Chaos Emeralds, which is a good idea. The Phantom Ruby does have certain abilities on what the Chaos Emeralds can't do. The Chaos Emerald allows anyone to control these gems, good or evil, while the Phantom Ruby is the exact opposite. The Phantom Ruby controls and manipulates people for its own benefit. This was hinted at the Sonic Forces comic, and I wish that it was explored more. The definition of a phantom can mean a ghost, but the other meaning of a phantom is a figment of the imagination. The Merriam-Webster's Dictionary of a phantom is described as something abstract, ideal, or incorporeal. Imaginations are something that isn't real and is abstract within the human mind. Sega was very clever when coming up with the idea of the Phantom Ruby. The Phantom Ruby can bring anything that is imaginary to life, which could have been a cool concept. I think villains like Eraser Jin, the Hard-Boiled Heavies, and King Arthur should return in Generations. Since King Arthur and Eraser Jin are from fictional storybooks, I feel like both of these characters would work well with Infinite. We see in Sonic Mania that the Phantom Ruby can negate the Chaos Emeralds, which wasn't used in Forces, all because the Chaos Emeralds wasn't in the story. Many Sonic fans were disappointed that the Chaos Emeralds wasn't used in Force's story, even though it was hinted and implied in Mania, which was a letdown. It would really be cool if Infinite got his own super transformation from the powers of the Ruby. Cause Infinite would get his own super transformation, I would want Cyber Supersonic to return, but also Doomwing Shadow. Doomwing Shadow should have a super transformation, and it would be really cool. If Cyber Corrupt Supersonic faces off against Infinite, that would really be cool. I don't have anything else to say on what DLC that I want in Generations. This would be a good point to end the video. Thank you for watching this video. Like, share, subscribe, but also leave a comment below if you guys really want to see more of my content. Anyway, see you guys soon.